they would reject. Okay, the next step is educating and informing respondents of the ballot measure. It's time to tell your story. It's time to let these voters know, all right, other than just the cost and generally what it's for, let's really get into the weeds, because the weeds do matter, folks. And it's also sort of going to forecast what people should learn, considering there'll be an ample amount of effort put into the campaign of educating and informing people. This is the opening language that we used in Moffat County School District. We will now share information about some of the school infrastructure projects and primary reasons why the school board is considering a bond measure. After reading the different info, please indicate if you're more likely to vote yes or if you're more likely to vote no and reject. Let's get started. And we tested probably about 12 different messages and information, and that's what we refer to them as, because we don't know what little nugget of the overall effort is going to really work well. What was the number one message that people gave them reason to support the ballot measure? The school district has applied for a BEST grant from the Colorado Department of Education. The district may receive up to $6 million in matching funds from this grant if voters approve the bond measure. Nearly 7 out of 10 respondents said, that would be more interesting for me to vote for it. Message number 2, and this is where you can really start understanding how to position and discuss what you want to get done. If approved, the bond funds would pay for the $5.9 million costs for new asphalt, concrete, and drainage repairs to nearly every school building in the district, including stick the name of those schools in there. You want to absolutely let people know there is something for them. Early Childhood Center, Sandrock, Sunset, et cetera, et cetera. And if you read through the rest of these are the ones that really, tested the best, that gave reason for people to support the ballot measure. So when you announce the ballot measure and get into it, it just makes common sense. Lead with these 4 messages. In addition to learning what is good and may drive people to support something, this message testing approach in the survey is also helpful to identify what the least effective things to say, or even decide, don't even talk about this. And when we did the Moffat County ballot measure, we did have this message, and this was the least effective, if not the negative message. If approved, the bond funds would pay for $4.3 million costs of a new football field, new track, bleachers, lights, and press box for Moffat County High School. Now, this is up in Craig. I assume that perhaps this may go over better because, football field, a community meeting spot, brings people together. No way, no how. Only 40% said that they were more likely to vote yes after hearing this, and they wanted nothing to do with that. They only wanted the dollars going to exactly those infrastructure needs. So that's just one example of how the survey was helpful to craft the ballot measure. Same thing in the city of Lafayette. We're now going to share some information of you considering a ballot measure to generate a new funding source for public safety service and needs. Again, after hearing the information or reading it, please tell if you're more likely to support or oppose. Well, what did we learn in Lafayette? Lafayette's a very progressive Democratic community. There was a concern that if the ballot measure did include the hiring of 4 police officers, a lot of voters may have pause just simply because they were supporters, if you will, of, reform the police movements, if you will. But what we really found from this ballot measure or from the survey was the number one thing, or one of the top things people liked, was the hiring of mental health co-responders to accompany police on calls involving behavioral health issues to minimize violence, arrests, and the use of jails. They love that. And so if you were in a community and we're looking to pass a public safety ballot measure, just the general idea and concept and letting them know these things were going to go towards funds, if the tax passed, we're going to pay for these things, is just going to help you know. Now, we also did sort of an A/B testing where half of the respondents we read and said the hiring of 4 police officers. This will allow the department to have a minimum of 3 on duty at all times rather than 2. The additional officers will help to reduce response times and put more focus on community policing. 72% of folks did support this, but as you can see, 22% were more likely to reject it. Not strong levels of opposition, but it was more measurable. So again, that's just